County. I think the important thing to stress here today for you is how well that investigation came together and how quick it came together. The most important of this investigation came to pass yesterday, and that's two different things. One is the safe recovery of this 3-day-old child, and also the arrest and incarceration of the person who shot that child's mother in the parking lot of the doctor's office. That is, those two are the most important aspects we have today. However, you need to understand that there's still a lot of work to do on this. The investigators have evidence to examine. They have other interviews to do. So we are in no way complete with this investigation. There's many T's to cross and many I's to dot. So there's still a lot to do with this case before we hand it over completely to the district attorney's office so they have a report and a complete investigation to work with. With that, I'd like to introduce Sheriff Tommy Gage. He's the sheriff of Montgomery County, Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Tuesday, April 17th, shortly after 2 p.m., Kayla Marie Golden, white female, 28, left her pediatrician's office on Laurel Park Drive in South Montgomery County with her 3-day-old son, Keegan, after having a checkup. When she put Keegan in her pickup, an altercation erupted with the suspect who was the occupant of the car parked next to her. The suspect shot Kayla several times, then took the child from the pickup, put him in her car, knocking Kayla to the ground as she left the scene. Witnesses on location called 911 for the sheriff's office and EMS. Upon arrival, officers got a brief description of the suspect and the vehicle, and an attempt to locate was aired. Kayla was transported to a local hospital where she later died. As the investigation continued, Detectives Wood and May, while canvassing the area, drove through the parking lot of the Pond Ridge Apartments on Sawdust Road, spotted a parked vehicle that closely matched the vehicle described by witnesses. It was determined that this was the vehicle involved in the offense. After talking to the residents, it was determined which apartment the suspect lived in. Montgomery County SWAT team made entry into the apartment, didn't find anyone on location. The suspect, Verna Deanne McLean, black female, 30, later arrived on location, and during her interview with detectives, information was obtained which led detectives to a residence in Harris County where her sister lived and a possible location of the child. Texas Rangers in Harris County received the information of the suspect's sister and went to that location and recovered little Keegan unharmed. With this information and the evidence obtained at both locations and from the vehicle which supported the arrest of the suspect, and she was taken into custody.
Thank you, Sheriff. As all of you know, the arrest was made yesterday of Verna Deanne McLean. She's currently incarcerated in the Montgomery County Jail, charged with capital murder. She had her very first appearance before a judge this morning, where a judge refused to set bond. She's under no type of suicide watch. She has been placed in a single cell where she is the only occupant. And our investigators hit the ground running this morning, again, interviewing additional witnesses, re-examining evidence, and pressing forward with this. Our detectives, Melanie Wood and Chad May, I believe should be commended for their good, basic police work. They ran with their instincts. They started canvassing and looking at the area of parking lots and apartment complexes and found this vehicle. Without these two detectives, innovative and good police work, we may not be here today. Again, the most important part for our Montgomery County Sheriff's Office and all of our team that work together, including the Department of Public Safety, Texas Rangers, DPS, Constable's Office, all of these agencies came together to make this work yesterday. I believe that the Sheriff's Office finest hour was yesterday. It's to recover a child that has been kidnapped and the mother killed by a stranger with no connection within 5 to 6 hours is as good a police work as you can do. Today, I'm very proud to be part of this Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. That's where our investigation is today. I think of note that you need to pay attention to is that we do not believe that this defendant acted in or with someone else. Originally, we released information that we believe that there was a second suspect that was in the car that was based on witness interviews. As all of you know, witnesses see things from different angles and different perspectives. However, based on the totality of this investigation, the interview with the suspect, examination of evidence, we do believe today that she acted alone. However, let me stress to you that we will not have tunnel vision on this, and the investigators will keep an open mind to ensure that there's not another suspect. But as of today, as of right now, we believe we have a single person responsible for the death of this mother and the kidnapping of her 3-day-old child. With that, I'll turn this over to Captain Zener. This is the commander of the Detective Division here in the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. Captain.
Thank you, Dan. It's always nice to face the media when you have a positive outcome. This is a very tragic event, but it did have a positive outcome, the recovery of the child. I'm going to be brief in my statements. I think Dan probably touched on the high points. This was a multi-agency investigation involving the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, the Texas Rangers, the FBI was on location to assist, and the Montgomery County DA's office. I'm going to let Mr. Lakin address you, and then we'll open up for some question and answers to y'all. But I'd like to stress, like Lieutenant Norris said, this is still a very active and ongoing investigation. So there's certain things that we won't be able to comment on. But once he's made his address to y'all, Detective Smith and I, as lead agent here, will take some questions from you.
Thank you, Bruce. Good afternoon, everybody. Last night, after obtaining information from the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, the District Attorney's Office believed that we had enough information to press forward and file charges of capital murder against Vernon McLean. Dan had pointed out several of the detectives that made the initial contact with the vehicle, started canvassing the area, but also I don't think it should go unsaid. Detective Schmidt, the gentleman standing behind me, his work obviously was paramount in securing additional information. Montgomery County SWAT was deployed not only in this county but in another county in an effort to bring the child back home safely. The troopers with the Texas Department of Public Safety were there on the scene and were actively assisting. It's nice when you have agencies with several different patches and all the patches are operating under one goal and one focus. And from about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon to about 10 o'clock last night, that one focus was to bring that child home safe. It was a very emotional event for everybody who was there. As a matter of fact, when they received the call, everybody wanted to know, could the announcement be made to every single officer who was out there? Because there had been many officers who had left the scene and had to go on to other responsibilities, and they needed to know that the child was found safe. So I joined Bruce and Dan and the sheriff, obviously, in commending the officers, the troopers, the Texas Rangers were there on the scene. Obviously, we had an asset from the FBI there as well. The District Attorney's Office is part of our response team. We had 3 separate scenes, and we had prosecutors there on several scenes working on warrants and those types of deals. So, as part of the capital murder charge, we had asked that Ms. McLean be held without bail. The judge has honored that request. Currently, Ms. McLean is in custody and is facing the charges of capital murder. The investigation is continuing. The investigation is ongoing. And many of the questions that we're receiving are somewhat premature, particularly when you think of the fact that the first 5 hours were primarily spent doing what you're supposed to as part of a criminal investigation, but every single resource out there was looking for this child, and they brought it home safely. So I commend the Sheriff's Department, I commend the state of Texas, and I commend every single person in this room. And thank you for your time.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll entertain some questions, and you can direct those questions to the person that you
Sheriff, what do you...
The first question I think that we'd all like to know is the motive. We've heard conflicting information about whether or not the suspect had a recent miscarriage or lost a child in some other way, and we're just wondering what is the motive for this event.
I'm not going to go into detail of the motive, but initially, the information is that she did have a miscarriage. She needed to justify having a child to her soon-to-be fiance, so they're going to get married in May. And she had let in to believe that she was pregnant and had a child, so she needed a child. She needed to produce a child. That's all I'm going to comment on that.
Has she confessed?
She has given a statement, yes, that would indicate that she was responsible for this, yes.
So did she stalk this victim, or was she just looking for anybody that came out?
The investigation so far would indicate that this was a random choice on her part. I think she knew the patterns at the pediatric center where she was at because she'd taken her children there in the past, but there's nothing to indicate that this was anything beyond planning further than that.
Are her children here with her, Miss McLean's children? Are they here with her as well? In Montgomery County or Harris County?
Yes.
Who has the children now?
I don't know.
How many kids does she have?
Two that I know of. Like I said, we're still getting into the investigation. Last night, as Mr. Liggins said, was focused on the recovery of the child and trying to get someone in custody. That's where the focus was all night until maybe 3 o'clock this morning. So the investigators just now going back over the canvases that we done yesterday, videotape that they've been searching for all the businesses in that area, off Borough Park, and trying to put all that together. That's going to take a while. But,
And what about the father? I just spoke to the father of the baby, and he says he's not had a real briefing from any of you and has not been given kind of firsthand information about what's going on with the investigation and things like that.
Okay, I spoke to a gentleman that represented the father this morning. I spoke with them last night. As far as details of the investigation, it's not our policy to give out all that information until we have a grasp on what's really happening, because I don't like to give false information to a family member. Once we got a firm grasp of the situation, I had a detective call them and brief them.
Is there any
What do you
initial...
mean by that she needed to justify having a child to the fiancé? I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
I said, what do you mean by she needed to justify having a child to her fiancé? I don't understand.
She told him she was pregnant and had given birth to a child
By him?
by him.
But the child that she kidnapped was white.
I understand that.
Was the fiance white?
Was she representing this as her baby? Is that?
She represented this as her child, yes.
The sister, she took the baby to the sister. Did the sister call authorities or think this odd, or?
Of course, an investigation led us to the sister. Led us to the sister in Houston. Once on location, she came forward with information that she had the child, that the child had been brought there. That's one of the details we're trying to work through right now. I think, John, we're doing interviews right now to establish how the child got there and who actually brought the child to the location in Houston.
Do you expect
anyone else to face charges beyond her?
Very possible.
Is there anything beyond her statement, like surveillance, that would indicate that yes, indeed, she did act alone? Surveillance video from any of those businesses, anything like that, that would prove she was alone?
We have not seen all the video that is recovered. As of right now, all indications she acted alone. Yes.
Did the fiancé ever see the child? Did she actually get to the point where she presented this child to the fiancé? Have you spoken to him yet? Where is he?
He is in an interview. No, the child was never presented to him.
And I'm sorry, she told the fiance she had given birth,
Yes.
but the fiance had not seen this child she supposedly given birth to, so she kidnapped this child
Right.
to try and say, this is the child I told you I gave birth to.
How long ago did she miscarry?
I don't have the exact date. I'm not going to get into more of the motive. It's still ongoing. It's active investigation. I'm not going to comment on that.
When she came up to your detectives at the SWAT scene, was she initially trying to say, help you, or did she come up and just say, I'm involved in this?
When she approached detectives at the Fawn Ridge location, she approached us with that she had information regarding the vehicle that we were looking for. She knew from the media that we were looking for that specific vehicle, and she knew she was associated with that.
But was she trying to be helpful, or did
Yes.
she? Oh, so she tried to say like I was a helpful witness at first?
She was coming forth with information to be cooperative.
But as a suspect or as a witness?
Not at that point. We did
Oh.
not approach her or interview her as a suspect at that point.
And did she basically, is that when her story started falling apart, when you started talking to her?
Throughout the interview, it started to fall apart.
Can we say what weapon was used and then who it was registered to?
Can we get whoever speaks close to the mics? Let me help with that. We have recovered a handgun. However, until ballistics and the crime lab has an opportunity to examine that and other evidence, it would not be wise for us to comment on that.
And I'm sorry,
How many
again,
times was she shot and where?
Detective Schmidt, John Schmidt,
Regular spelling?
SCHMITT.
John, how many times was she shot and where?
At this point, the autopsy has been conducted this morning. There are still some questions as to the number of times, so I'm not, multiple is the best that I can tell you.
Can you tell us at all about her state of mind? Does she appear remorseful?
Yes, she does appear remorseful for what happened.
Does she appear remorseful for the shooting or for the fact that she got caught?
I'm just going to say she appears remorseful at this point.
And what about her children? Where are they?
Her children are with a family member in Montgomery County.
Has she been in the Houston, Montgomery, or Harris, Montgomery County area long? Because we saw that she had some ties to California as well.
Since 2010.
Okay.
Do you have any idea that her sister was aware, other than the fact that she brought home this child, or to take care of this child?
That is still part of the ongoing investigation.
Did the sister believe the baby was adopted, or what did she believe about the baby?
Like I said, we are still interviewing the sister with exactly what she knew and at what point she became aware of information, so I can't give you any specifics on that.
Was that gun found in her car or her apartment, the gun?
What, I'm sorry?
Was the gun found in her car or in her apartment?
The gun was recovered in the apartment.
Does she have a previous criminal record?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
Do you know where she was practicing? She's a vocational nurse. Do you know where she was practicing?
She was practicing in Harris County. She has a job in Harris County.
Do you know where? What facility?
Not right off the top of my head. She has given it to us, but I don't recall.
Is it a hospital or a nursing home or
It's a
something?
It's a staffing agency that she works through that places you as they need the help for a nurse.
Do you remember the name of the agency?
I don't. Okay, no.
Did
Do you have any information about that verbal altercation initially and what that was about, how the suspect was able to get the victim's attention? And
Between the witnesses at the scene on Borough Park, what we've discussed with Verna, we're still trying to corroborate everything to see exactly what that was, but we're having conflicting information.
Did she indicate how long she was planning this? Did she indicate how long she had thought about doing this?
I'm sorry.
Did Ms. McLean indicate how long she had planned this attack?
No.
No?
How many times was the mother in the end shot, and where was she shot? I mean, we've heard conflicting information about that as well.
I think all we're going to comment on, she had multiple gunshot wounds to the source of it. That's all.
What led Detectives Ward and May to that apartment complex? Was it just instinct, or was it?
We had a direction of travel from the suspect vehicle from Borough Park. We knew of multiple apartment complexes in that area, and they just started canvassing the area, to see if they might be able to come across some information or the vehicle. They were fortunate enough to find that vehicle there.
Did she actually? Other than that, it would have probably been like finding a needle in a haystack, given the time that they had to get away and the vehicle.
Certainly would have made the investigation more difficult.
Is there evidence suggesting that she was going to shoot this woman either way, or that some kind of conflict happened, maybe she wouldn't give the baby, and then she got shot for that?
We can say that we know that she carries a firearm, to know that that was her intention to go out that day. I can't say that.
Can you say, did she shoot Kayla before or after she grabbed the baby? Because we're trying to understand that, did she grab the baby, put it in the car, and then Kayla reached in, and then she got shot? Or what was kind of the exact sequence? Or did she just walk up and shoot her, then take the baby?
It's my understanding that she shot the complainant initially and then grabbed the baby.
Okay.
What was you said it was an altercation. Did she say to the victim, "Give me your baby"? I mean, what was there a verbal altercation prior to the shooting?
We are still trying to sort that out, exactly the sequence of events that transpired before the shooting. Like I said, we're trying to sort all that out.
How about her mental condition? Do you think she's mentally sound?
I'm not at liberty.
Okay. As you know, obviously in Texas, the courts have the ability to raise any issue that they feel like in regards to the mental status of the defendant. The Sheriff's Department also has medical facilities that would be available here, and so asking the state or the detectives to comment on somebody's mental status obviously is somewhat premature at this point. And so the charging decision is the reality of whether or not the conduct has occurred, or the conduct we believe we have probable cause to go forward. So we have an aggravated kidnapping, and then you have a murder, which obviously gets you to a capital murder in the state of Texas. I'm sure in regards to defensive issues that you would typically see in any murder case, those issues would become present. The state of Texas always has the burden of proof. There are always hurdles to jump over, and it's no different in this case than it would be in any other case. And so Detective Schmidt has done a wonderful job as far as interviewing, as far as handling the witnesses. The Sheriff's Department has done a great job as well. But once we start getting into the litigation of the courtroom, that's you're putting the cart well before the horse at this point.
Right, you filed capital murder. Are you going to seek the death penalty on this one?
Scott, it's way too early to talk about that. In Texas, the biggest prong is future dangerousness. And so the jury would have to believe that not only were these actions of a typical criminal defendant, were the actions that would make them liable for a capital murder conviction, but then they would have to look at the facts of any particular defendant and see whether or not everything led up to it. You know, the history of Texas, obviously there's a large history of males and a very, very few females that are on death row. And it's for a myriad of reasons, criminal history, conduct, the way they act, the way they perform, remorse, mental status. All those things are the type of things that I will be personally reviewing, but it's too soon to look at a decision like that, and for somebody to prematurely suggest it one way or the other, I think would be unwise. It's a long, arduous process, and we will actually give the attorney who would end up representing Ms. McClain every opportunity to discuss whatever issues that they felt was appropriate long before I made that decision.
How long do you think before she actually makes a first appearance in court?
She actually made a first appearance this morning before Magistrate D'Amico. Montgomery County has a 24-hour magistration. Every defendant is given the ability to go before a judge. The Sheriff's Department just recently made that, the facilities are pretty modern. So every defendant gets to go before a magistrate, and she had received her warning notices and went before a judge this morning.
Where's baby Keegan?
The last time that we had a conversation about the whereabouts of Keegan, she was in CPS custody, and they had placed her with a family member of the victim.
You know why he's not with his dad?
No, I do not. We'd have to discuss that with CPS.
Just a couple more questions, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be finished.
Captain General, Detective Schmidt, I know you guys have talked broadly about the determination of the detectives in trying to find the baby. How hard has this been for you guys? I can only imagine that your parents and your staff is parents who had to deal with this. Given the facts, situation, how tough has this been for you guys?
I think it's always tough for anyone in this business. Everybody has families, and we're not any different than anyone else. And as far as the people of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, the detectives worked an officer-involved shooting early morning yesterday, and then they went right on to this. So that's what they do every day. They're very professional, very determined, and I can't say enough about it.
Has another court date been set?
Tomorrow.
What time and what court?
It's going to be, I think we can check the night, so we can just Ms. McClain will have an appearance before the 9th District Court, Judge Fred Edwards, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Mr. Burnett, did she happen to have a concealed handgun permit? Do you know?
I'm not aware of that. I didn't-
I think we're through, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for you being here today, and we're finished. Thank you.